And we're live. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. I'm your host, Robert Michaels. Glad you're here. As long as everything's working here, we're live on the interwebs. Thank you for chiming in. Thank you for entering into the paragliding universe, where we're going to talk about all things flying, mostly paragliding. Glad you're here. I want to mention just a couple sponsors. One of those is PPG Smoke. PPGsmoke.com is the website. Go check out what he's got to offer for your paragliding needs and free flight needs. Really cool stuff. We got chase cams, lamels. We've got smoke machines. We don't talk a lot about smoke machines for some reason, but he still has those, and they're pretty cool. Smoke machines, he's got them all amped up now too, because they started off kind of just light smoke. Now you can really smoke out the neighbors with your machine. And just, put some bug spray in there. You got bug problems, put some bug spray in there, and then just go and blast your whole backyard, kill all the mosquitoes. ppgsmoke.com. Also, John Wayne donated $10 a super chat. We haven't even started yet. John Wayne knows it's going to be a good show. Thanks for that, John Wayne. I really appreciate it. I've got spotty internet. I know last week I was crying about it the whole time. We may have to move to Starlink. And so if that happens, we're going to need you guys to chip in because it's expensive. Paraglidingtalk.com, brought to you by Starlink.
All you freeloaders. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to talk to Elon and see if we can't get hooked up for the show. So anyways, I also want to mention dreamlifterparamotors.com, dreamlifterparamotors.com. Harley Mill has a school here in Southern California. You want to sign up for some training, go check it out. Dreamlifterparamotors.com, dreamlifterparamotors.com. And also want to mention Andrew Fuller. He has a website now. He's doing repairs. He does SIV trainings and does these clinics, but also now he's repairing gear and repacking gliders and checking trims and all kinds of cool stuff. His website is paraglider-inspection.myshopify.com. And so go check out his website if you're needing some repairs to be done. Also want to mention paramotorprops.com, paramotorprops.com. If you're looking at best deals on the internet for props, they get them out to you quick, and they know what they're talking about. Reach out to them at paramotorprops.com. Tonight's episode is kind of we had a weird show last week, so it was kind of it was awkward for me because my screen was frozen the whole time, and so I saw the same image from the very beginning all the way to the end, and couldn't tell if I was actually working. And I kept going robotic on everybody. But it's the same scenario. So if it goes off the rails, I don't know what to do. We'll figure it out eventually. But so I did, just real quick, I did get on the phone with Verizon. They're sending me a new router. They're hopeful. I'm not necessarily holding my breath that they're going to be able to fix it. But if they don't, then I'm going to make the next steps required to move to some other internet service so we can keep this thing rolling. What were you going to say, Anthony?
No, I was going to wait till you're done with that subject, but we got Randy Clark in the chat. He's like, he likes the dress code tonight. So yeah. Where we at over here?
That's right.
We're representing the local boys here.
Yep.
Thanks. Randy made these shirts for us, so we're very thankful, and we wear the heck out of them to the point where my wife is starting to complain. Kids are complaining. Yeah. The dog stays away from me, and the plants all wilt.
Yep. And we're ugly.
Most of them.
Ugly and raptors. Yep. Lots of people in the chat tonight. Welcome. So glad you're here. You guys are awesome. Lots of moderators. Look at them all. You guys are amazing. So welcome. Tonight, we're going to talk about acro, and I'm no acro pilot. I want to preface this show tonight that I am not the guy to be talking about acro at all. So the angle that I'm going to be coming at is an angle that is from a very, very immature acro person. I got one trick under my belt. That's it. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about how you can stay safe. Welcome. Dave Wolf, all the internet problems associated with trying to put a YouTube show. God bless you, man. Yes, internet problems are real. First world problems. Yeah, but I may have to just connect to satellite. You know what I found out about Starlink, by the way? There's a string of satellites, and if you're watching the stars at night, I guess every once in a while you can see it go by, and it's like 10 satellites that will all be cruising, and they'll all just kind of cruise by and they're all in sync, and they all just looks like caterpillar of stars or something.
Yeah, all
that was
straight
super
line.
cool. Yeah, I can't wait to see that.
It'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it's timed too. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Maybe the Heaven's Gate cult is on one of those. Hanging out, chill.
Yeah, listen, guys. It's very possible we missed that ship. That comet was our chance out of here, and it's possible they knocked on your door and invited you to church, and you said no and missed the comet. Just saying.
You can pick it up pretty well.
Instead, I'm at the Christian door, and it's way better.
Yeah, free shoes,
free beef jerky, free. Yeah. I mean,
cool. Was it Kool-Aid or Jello? It was Jello, I think.
No.
Okay.
Cool. Okay.
David Wolf asked if we could please talk about the hazards of flying an American flag into a stadium during the national anthem, because if the winds are favorable, that's my plan tomorrow night. David Wolf, you were a star in my world. You were famous and a star.
He brought. Am I muted? No. He brought.
Am I online?
He brought. He did the football at his kids' stadium. Gotta love it, man. His kids gotta love him. He's like the coolest dad on campus, you know.
Seriously, trying to get on David's level. Yeah. So, anyways, I want to talk about how to stay safe in practice. We'll open up with the art of the wing over. The wing over. So I'll start by talking. I'm more focused on acro that involves free flying. And the reason why is because I feel way more confident. Gringo and I were talking about bump tolerance, motor bump tolerance, and free flying bump tolerance. Now, my free flying bump tolerance is pretty good. And Gringo's bump tolerance on a motor is better than my bump tolerance on a motor. So I'm trying to convince him to come free fly, and he's trying to convince me to fly in crazy bumpy air with a motor. Not all the time, but he's not afraid of flying stuff. I'll do it. I'll tolerate it, but I'm not excited about it. So we'll talk a little bit about that. The fear for me with doing acro on a motor, I see guys now that are doing infinite tumble on a motor, and it's like nothing. People are just, oh yeah, we're just going to send it. Definitely not anywhere near that. But there's something to be said about familiarity of your equipment, whatever you're going to do. So if you're going to be doing acro with your motor, use the same equipment, use the same wing, get comfortable with that particular wing. Whatever you're going to be using, there's a soft spot in my heart for my very first wing. You become attached to your wing. And the reason why is because you spent so much time with it. Maybe it was ground handling, maybe it was in the air or whatever, but you can become very attached to your wing. I think that's one of the critical parts of being good at flying and being able to progress and do more things. So let's start talking about the wing over. The wing over is probably more of a free flight thing because it's a descent technique that is not going to make you dizzy. It may pull you in, there's some G forces involved, but it's off and on. So you're working with kind of the blood flow in your body, and there's things that are happening that you're staying conscious. But if you really want to lose altitude fast, you might spiral. And I was doing some spirals on what was it, Monday or Tuesday? We had a great flight. It was Monday. That was amazing. And we had clouds. We were getting sucked up to cloud base over and over again. We were flying over the valley of Blossom and just going up. I left El Cap at 2,800. By the time I was back to where launch was, I was at like 3,200. I mean, it was insane. We were going up over the valley. There was some interesting winds were being created in the valley, I think. But very important descent technique, especially if you're not very healthy and you're worried about passing out. You know, we've had some incidents in the past couple of months, and some of the questions came up, and actually Yankee and I were talking about a recent incident, and my thought was that it's possible that some guys that pound in a I'm not going to say auto rotation, locked in spiral into the ground. I wonder if that's not someone who passed out, or if maybe their heart just couldn't pump what needed to get to the brain to make it overcome the G forces, or heart attack. What we're doing is kind of wild.
It only takes about 3 spirals, if I'm not mistaken, to get to the point where it could become very dangerous, not only for you, but your equipment as well.
Right. And people have different tolerances for G forces. So you might be wanting to go out there and get a little vitamin G and flip yourself around and have some fun, but you better have the ability to process those G forces with your body. So it's something we encourage, obviously, on the show. We've been encouraging over the years. Make sure that you have good, you're healthy. It's important. Your health of your body is critical. Oh, I just remembered something. Oh man, I flew without a radio on Monday. And the whole time I was like, gosh, man, what the heck's wrong with me? Here I am promoting safety. And I showed up, and I have 2 radios because normally I'll bring one because someone will forget theirs. And I flew the whole time without a radio. Now, I will say this, it was kind of nice. It's nobody talking. And I had a great flight. But it did limit what I wanted to do that night. It limited the direction that I was going to go. I didn't realize how much that was an important piece of my equipment until at the end. I was like, dang, man, I could have did this. I could have did that. There were certain places I was going to go, and I thought, I better not, just in case I have a land out somewhere. And I wasn't in communication with anybody, so nobody was telling me where to go. Tony came and actually met up with me and yelled to me what our next move was going to be. It's pretty crazy. And then also, I couldn't go into the clouds. I mean, I would never do that. But had I got cloud sucked into the clouds, I wouldn't have been able to radio to my friends to watch out for me. You know what I mean? So, yeah, anyways, don't forget your stuff, man. I don't even know how it happened. Okay,
and
so
there's another thing to be said about energy management too. You know, you have to understand how to bleed energy off, especially on exits. If you're not familiar with that can really become a troublesome problem.
Dang it. My internet just literally went complete robot. I didn't get any of that, Sean.
Oh, well, I was talking about energy management.
Energy management. Okay, I got that.
And how it's important to be able to understand, especially on an exit of something like a wingover, how having good energy management, understanding your ground speed, and the fact that you don't want to stop your glider from flying. Those are important things to understand. How much brake is too much, how much is not enough, when to check, when not to check, things like that. You know, you need to understand how to bleed that energy off, or you can Find yourself in an undesirable position.
Pull the wrong brake, go the wrong direction, and add more G.
Yeah.
Frozen, broken internet.
Who? You're still streaming.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, yeah, you might be a little frozen on there, but you're good. Let it rip.
It's interesting because it's frozen on my end. Obviously, you guys are frozen, and now your audio was frozen for the last like 20 seconds. That's pretty bad.
So I've got us in our chat side, like on a column, and then 2/3 of the page, I've got the show and I can see the chat. So in our show, you've got you in the left corner, Sean in the right, and I'm in the center bottom. And
yeah, I'm watching that too.
I don't see any pausing or hesitation. So
I blame your computer.
Move on.
Yeah,
it's definitely your computer's fault.
Let's talk about the art of the wing over. So one of the fundamental, I would say, acro maneuvers is the wing over. Now, what's important about this, to understand this is very, very important that you don't underestimate the wing over. Proper wing over. Let me give you a demonstration with my paragliding hawk sticker here. A wing over starts here and ends here, right? So we're getting like a full all the way around, right? You start here and end up something like that. And I can't remember the amount of it's insane to me how simple it seems, but can be one of the most dangerous of the sport. In my opinion, it is the most dangerous acro maneuver. And the reason why I say that, it's the most least respected of all the maneuvers. And it is one that you can end up in your wing. Probably one of the most dangerous things. One of the scariest things is ending up in here. Taco, whatever you want to say, gift wrapped, and end up falling inside. You've got to swim out of your glider, throw a reserve. And so the wing over has probably claimed more people than we like to admit. Miguel, thank you, man. So wing overs take time. And I want to encourage you, if you have a place where you can go, and I'm talking free flying, you can also do it on your motor. If you can get to the place where you are weight shifting and pulling weight shift only wing overs, start there. And very little brake inputs. I encourage you to do this rep out over and over and over again, wing overs with just weight shift. Then when you're confident in your energy management, then go to the place where you're it's David Wolf, he's text bombing me. Then move to that place of wing overs where you're actually throwing yourself over the wing. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say about wing overs. Find the balance. Now, let's talk about stalling. And again, I'm merging acro and I'm talking about descent technique first, but then we're going to talk about acro. So you're stalling your wing is the great reset, right? Now, most of the time, you're not going to be using this in your flying. It's not a normal thing. Now, however, if you're going into acro, this should be the first thing that you're really working on. This should be the first thing that you're really getting confident with. Now, obviously, I'm talking about after you've gone through a few SIVs, you get some momentum. My gosh, nonstop.
It's just Dave. Ignore it. Come on, Dave.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dave on the show. We want to talk about his camera.
Uh-oh. Oh gosh. Huge misspelling.
2 more wing overs.
Yeah. So practice wing overs, full stalls. Full stalls, the great reset. If you can reset your, gosh, man, I'm kidding. My phones are all ringing. If you can find the balance with stalling your wing, I think this is probably one of the greatest tools that you're going to have, because you'll be able to segue into back fly. It's the great reset in case you get yourself in a bad situation. Stalling your wing is an interesting thing. Now, I've heard from others, some of the elite in our paragliding community, that full stalls are not the best answer. And I have to agree with that in an aspect, because every situation is different. And I'm way down on the bottom of my list of topics, but I'm just going to jump to this other part. Knowing when to sort it out or throw. There has to be serious conscience, this very focused in this moment when let's just, for example, say that you got yourself in like a three wind twist. Okay. So you're all twisted up and you're just kind of floating down and things are starting to get weird. You're not sure if you're going to go into maybe induce a spiral. You're not sure how it's going to play out. And I've seen these videos before. They've got a few twists and they're trying to figure out how to fix it. Right. And so, when to abort the mission, when to abort trying to fix the twists, or when to just throw the reserve. Okay. So the full stall isn't the fix all. It's not the answer to everything. It is the great reset, but every scenario is going to be just a little bit different. So that's what I wanted to say about that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about backfly. Backfly is I encourage you to practice ground handling. So do this first. Get your wing, flip it onto its nose, and use the brakes to pull the glider up. And work on pulling the glider up and feeling the dynamics of the wing upside down. Now, the reason I say that, and this is where you're going to really excel in your ground handling. When you can flip your wing, pull it up, and jab a brake, grab an A, and try to flip it around. I'm not very good at it with my wing, but I love to do it with a certain wing. It's really fun. That little Susie, who makes that? Gosh,
Air Design.
Air Design. Thank you. That Air Design is such a fun glider to ground handle and just flip around and play games with it. But the knowing how to backfly when you're in a backfly, it's a very unusual feeling. It's a very weird place. So not everybody can spend a whole lot of time in the air. You want to be able to be in the air often and on SIVs and, over the water or over some kind of a safe place where you can do what you're going to do. But you're not always going to be able to have that. So if you can ground handle, or if you can find stall point while you're very close to the ground, I think this is really important to understand. So your glider is going to have a stall point. Now, I put in my notes to preface that your stall point needs to be, you need to discipline yourself to know the difference between finding stall point on the face of the hill. So if you're on the top of Blossom and you're playing on the rocks and you're going really deep in your brakes, you're going to be able to go deeper in your brakes because of the angle of the wind. If you're on flat ground and you're deep in your brakes, it's different. You're not going to have as much of a allowance or forgiveness because that energy is just not doing the same thing. If the energy is going up like this, much different than if it's coming like this. Okay, so now you're going to be more susceptible to collapse. If you were to picture the ground, right? We call this angle of attack. This is a high angle of attack, low angle of attack, right? That's a question on the test. You'll all be tested after this. But when we have a high angle of attack, your glider's more susceptible to going back this way, right? And if you have a low angle of attack, you're more susceptible to frontals. So finding that balance and understanding your wing, that's energy management. That's taking care of your fundamentals.
And speaking of which, doesn't
the place.
Doesn't that segue us to one of our wonderful sponsors with SIV clinics and the such?
Yeah.
I mean,
MaxAcro.com.
That would be one of the best places for a person to pick up these skills and to hone this stuff, is with someone that can walk you through it and say, look, once you get up there, tell me when you're ready. We'll work on this. We'll work on that. And we'll get you set up safely,
Yep.
And don't forget, altitude is your friend anytime.
That's one of my topics. You took point number 9. Altitude is critical when playing around. So by the way, if you want good toes, maxacro.com will tow you up to like 4,500. They're incredible. I mean, obviously you have to know how to be a good toe recipient, but if you're good at taking the toe, it's good. You're good. You'll get plenty of airtime. Maxacro.com if you want to sign up for that. Thanks, Sean, for the prompt to go to sponsors. Maybe we spin the wheel a little early. We're 2 minutes early. Let's spin it.
We could. I just thought that it was a very good opportunity because we were talking about acro, wing overs, and talking about stall points, back fly, things like that. That excellent opportunity to bring up the SIV clinics and what they're there for, because that's what they're there for, is to help pilots that are aspiring to be better with their acro game.
We spin it now. We catch those people that show up at exactly 6:30.
Yeah, so no more names in the wheel, because I've already got this. I know this is on a time delay, so within like 15 seconds, you guys will hear this. So no more names in the wheel. And all right, Robert, what are we giving away?
Tonight, we're going to give away a few things. We're going to give away a paraglidingtalk.com sticker. It duels as a wing. And I'm just kidding. I've got those. I've got a bunch of those 3 printed cases and the mirror handle for your paramotor. And you need that. You need both of those.
Kramer wants to know, can you do a wing over with a trike? I think there's a couple guys in the chat that has trikes.
Depends. Like David depends if it's got weight shift or not.
If you definitely can.
Shift, yeah. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Here we go.
Sponsors tonight.
I'm texting. The spin of this wheel is brought to you by Nebraska PPG. Josh Bowden runs a school in Nebraska, and if you're interested in getting some top-notch training, sign up with Josh and his team today. There's a link in the description. Also, the spin of this wheel is brought to you by Calamity Kite Clinic. CalamityKiteClinic.com. If you want to be better at ground handling, and you know you do, sign up with Sean today. CalamityKiteClinic.com.
If you're blowing too many launches, Calamity Kite Clinic.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you fly, take off, and can only fly straight, Calamity Kite Clinic. Can't make any turns. What do we got? Oh, Randy just missed me.
Daniel Roush, congratulations. I believe that's Daniel Roush. If it's Danielle.
Oh, hold on. Keep that live. Let me see. DANIEL.
IEL.
USIEL. That's what I wrote down.
right here, Daniel. I don't know if that's Danielle or Daniel, but either way, congratulations.
Congratulations, winner, winner, chicken dinner. Yeah, so really important fundamentals when you're gonna stress your glider and stretch your abilities. Don't try to do the barrel roll if you don't even know how to do a foundational wing over, right? There's a few things that can happen in the middle of your progress. One, you will scare yourself out of the sport, end up, going through your lines. That's always a terrifying thought, going through your lines, and you're just not sure how that's going to sort out. And you throw your reserve out and you don't know, these lines are sharp. Once that thing winds up with some air, it might yank those lines across your ear and cut you. And I mean, it's terrifying, all the different things that can happen when you go through your lines. If you do get to the place where you're through your lines, it's probably a good idea for you and your glider just to throw reserve right away, because your lines will actually chop your glider up. You may not have known that. It can happen, and it happens very, very fast. So you go through your lines, and I've never done it. Well, I shouldn't say I've never done it. I've got very loose lines a few times, and that's terrifying. Risers go limp. You watch all of your lines just spaghetti for a second. Oh yeah.
Well, and that's another thing too, with the tension of the brake, on having tension on that outside line.
Yeah.
At the curve. That's where you run across a lot of tips, like tip collapses, partial collapses, things like that, is if you're not keeping any pressure at all on that outer edge.
Let's talk a little bit about this. Shane just brought up a point. So he said, if you mess up on bleeding energy and balloon and the brakes get really mushy, is the glider vulnerable to spin if you pull more brake on one side than the other? So great question. You have to think of it like this. The other day I was playing around. I was coming back on glide, very smooth air, very nice. I was coming back from El Cap and just kind of playing around with my speed system. And I was steering with my speed bar by pulling on my speed system on one or the other. So when I pull on my right side, it turns me to the left. Why is that? Well, my right side is speeding up. My left side is still trying to fly at trim speed, which is 22 miles an hour on my glider. But when I start to pull on the right side, now I'm going to turn the opposite direction. And the right side of my glider is flying at 23 and 24 miles an hour. So let's think about what's happening with our brakes. When we're touching our brakes and we're at stall point, the glider is going to catch the air, bring that energy, and now whatever brake that you have on, it's this glider is going to want to whip around. It's going to try to shoot, because that energy has to go somewhere. That glider is going to have to go into a spin. This side has got some brakes on it. This side doesn't. It's going to want to take off. Now, I'm no expert on this, so please take this with a grain of salt. And somebody commented on one of the shows and said, I'm simple. And I was like, yeah, I had to heart the comment because he's true. He was right. I'm simple. It was a gut punch. Such a mean comment. My response, though, was even better. You have to go and find it. I think I said, you're
a simple response.
I said, you're boring. That's what I said. I said simple and boring. Yeah. I think he said something like milk toast. We're soft. Yeah. Yeah, it's brutal. But yeah, balancing your glider and Shane, I hope I'm helping you. you've got to be very careful what inputs that you have in position when you're mushy. Here's what happens. I'm going to give you an example. You're flying under your regular weight, okay? Regular wind speed, you're at trim speed. When you jab a brake, your brake comes down to about right here. You're like, oh yeah, that's hard. You feel the pressure. So in your mind tells you, okay, that glider is, I've got a lot of pressure right there. But when you're mushy, this down here, which would be a very violent reaction if you were flying at trim speed, because down here it's danger zone. You're going to stall or spin or something crazy is going to happen. The energy now is coming up into your wing, and you just think about that. Your hand's way down here. Well, all of a sudden, wham, it's going to that energy is going to build very quickly, and all of a sudden now your hand's down here because it felt, it's like, oh, well, my glider's in. That's why you're always going to hear at an SIV clinic, you're going to hear people yell, hands up, hands up, hands up. The reason why is because it's mushy. You don't feel, you don't realize it. Let's say you stall your glider. After you stall, you're in back flying, you're kind of wobbling around and you're flying backwards. It's a very interesting and weird feeling. But
Turbulent.
As soon as you get your hands up, guess what? Surge. Now, if you brought your hand up symmetrically, glider's going to shoot out in front of you. If you don't bring up your hand symmetrically, one comes up before the other, now you're going to induce an oscillation or a spin. Why is that? Well, because your brake position or where it was. Sometimes that has to do with the cravats or, your wing folding up and doing weird stuff. But I'm stepping all over my talking points. But so that the next step in that obviously is knowing when to jab your brakes, knowing when to make the correction, knowing when to be hands up. And you can't teach someone. Maybe you can help them when you're on radio and you're telling them, okay, now. But because everything happens so fast, it has to come in time. You cannot learn stuff on the ground that happens in the air. It's just like you can't teach someone to get on a bicycle and start riding without them riding. I can't teach a class on bike riding. It has to be worked out. So I personally, when it comes to checking the brakes or checking the surge, over and over again through SIV training, you kept hearing this, you got to catch the surge, The reason is because your glider is going to want to fold in on itself, and then you're going to induce some kind of chaos that you don't necessarily want. So learn where that is, learn where that catch point is. How do we do that? There's this game that I play, pitch pendulum, and what it is you're swinging your glider. I'm gonna keep using this because I kind of like it. You're swinging your glider, and you're holding the brakes. So you're just doing this, wee, wee, wee. And if you've never done that before, it's really fun. Your glider will go way farther forward than you realize before it will collapse. But knowing where that is it here? Is it there? Where is it? Oh, right there. You're gone. When I did my SAV with Max, we used every bit of air all the way to the last second. And the last maneuvers that you can do, because they're relatively safe, is the pitch pendulum. Now, you have to be careful because you are losing altitude, and it does want to go away on you. Here's the trick. Okay, so how to get more and more. The point where you think it's time to let go of your brakes, hold them just a little bit longer. That's my tip for you on the pendulum, or I think it's called porpoising. When you porpoise, really fun. That's a good way to study your glider and know where your stall point is. Again, all of these things should be done over water. Don't play on these things, or don't escalate these things and then be mad at me later on. So, oh, I took a full collapse, 50 feet off the ground. You need altitude to be playing around. You need altitude to be playing around, or be really incredibly confident.
And not low altitude either. We're talking pretty high. You're talking thousands of feet at least. You know, you don't want to be only 1,000 feet and thinking that you're going to do wing overs. You know, that's not, no. Especially if you're doing pendulums and things like that, you can lose altitude pretty quickly.
Yeah. So knowing when to check the surge, that's something that's learned over time. Catching the surge, that was one of my talking points. We talked about the wait for the untwist or not. Depending on how much altitude you have, you can work out a couple of twists. I've seen some videos where guys spend a whole lot of time, but it's all going to depend on where your lines are symmetrically. If your lines are off like this and it got twisted up and now they're tight like that, you're going to go into a spiral. And you just need just a couple spins and you're going to be G'd up completely. You better just throw it out while you can, because otherwise it's going to be total chaos.
And some gliders like spirals better than others too.
Yeah, and if you're on a spicy wing, the G's are going to be incredible. You're not going to like it. I'm going to tell you something. It almost scared me out of the sport. The G-forces were so strong. Oh, and when I was at SIV, during SIV, I went into a situation where I was G'd up, completely G'd up, and for just a few seconds, and then my heart dropped and I had PTSD. I was like, "Oh, it's happening again!" And I literally was like, "Oh, what do I do?" And I luckily had Max on the radio, and I knew I had already been through that. I already knew what that felt like, and so I was able to fix it and get out of it and do what I was going to do. For that moment, I mean, it was so strong. My eyes like shaking. It was so strong. So, yeah, the G's on a face down spiral are incredible. I don't even know what it is, but it's a lot. So to wait for the untwist or not, it's going to be discretionary. Obviously, you need to know how much altitude do I have? What are my repercussions for pounding in, is if it's water or if it's ground, trees, and then also, your reserve. Are you confident that you're going to be able to reach your reserve when you're twisted? Sometimes there's things that happen where you're not able to get to it. You can't. Maybe you're handcuffed or whatever. So a lot of dynamics involved in untwist or not untwist, but this is where I think SIVs are important. How often in nature are you going to deal with those? Probably it's going to be depending on how aggressive you are on your flying. Are you flying midday? Are you trying to fly cross country? Are you trying to join the X Alps or what? So all these dynamics are involved. 2 reserves. If you're going to start down the acro path, bite the bullet now. Get a acro harness and get 2 reserves out of the gate. No reason to try to play games with only one. I've seen too many videos where guys get into, they throw their reserve and it goes right into the glider, gets swallowed up by the glider, and you've got 2 pieces of fabric that are completely worthless. You guys have seen videos on this show. How do you, so get a second reserve. The other thing that you're going to need to do is make sure your reserve is cleaned up and repacked and fresh and ready to go. Understand, I'm going to say something that's very controversial right now. I personally believe that you should learn how to pack your own reserve. And the reason I say that is because you can't fully appreciate what you have in that bag if you don't even know how to pack it. there's so much going on with that. There's so many things that are happening. I in the very beginning, because I was cheap, I found a video of how to repack my glider on YouTube. Every step, every aspect of it. I used to have it on my channel, but I took it down because I didn't feel good about promoting that, a new guy packing his own reserve. But I think it's critically important if you're going to head down the path to, especially if you're just a motor guy and you're going to be, doing this in the wilderness and doing over the dirt. I don't recommend doing any acro maneuvers over the dirt ever at all. I do it. So it's hypocritical, however you want to say it. I'm going to err on the side of safety. I won't do, I won't recommend you do an acro except for at an SIV, especially if you're getting into the gnarly stuff. Guys, do it. Maybe there'll be a place in my life where I feel like, yep, I'm okay. I'm okay to promote it. Do it over the dirt if you have X amount of hours or you're confident with it. But I can't promote it that way. Shane, are you taking 2 reserves to practice wing overs? I fly with one currently. So Shane, I have one reserve that I fly with. My wing overs are like not even I can't even consider them wing overs. The definition of a real wing over, I'm not even getting close to that. I might be here, a half wing over. Real wing over is like this at some point. I'm like here, and it's enough for me to get down and do what I want to do. It's overground, it's dangerous. But I will say this to excuse myself from that. My wing overs are incredibly controlled and probably over controlled, and they look super boring. If you're standing on the ground watching, some lame person would just be like, that's boring. They might not even be excited about paragliding because it's so boring. But so yeah, I don't have 2 reserves. If I was going to get another one, I'd get a front mount or a temporary one for flying the motor. If I was going to start doing acro on the motor, which could happen somewhere down the road. But yeah, get yourself an extra one if you can. I know it's hard because you don't want any more weight. Got enough weight. Okay, so let's talk about. Oh, I need to mention some sponsors, don't I? American Allied Drains and Plumbing. You're in San Diego area. American Allied Drains and Plumbing is your plumbing company. Their phone number is 84777-9055. Sign up with them. They'll give you 10% discount if you mention Paragliding Talk. Also, Lone Star Paramotor, LoneStarParamotor.com is the website. If you are in the Lone Star state of Texas, you can reach out to Ron Turan and his team for world-class training. LoneStarParamotor.com. Also, if I can just mention real quick, Resurgence PBG. If you are wanting to support your men and women in uniform, or maybe somebody who used to serve, and you can do that by going to the website, resurgencepbg.com. A lot of these guys put their lives on the line so that we can have the freedom that we have. These guys do it on a daily go, and they might get a call to go out and die. And we know nothing about it. It just, that's a part of life, however you want to look at it. These guys deserve better. And so Resurgence PBG is a great place to support our men and women of uniform. Resurgencepbg.com. So maybe we'll talk about the upper echelon of acro. So progression from me being a very, what's the term? I'm an infant when it comes to acro. The progression to infinite tumble looks like a tedious long road. What things need to happen for you to get to that place? Well, I would argue that many, many hours of flying and add many, many, many hours of practicing acro maneuvers. Can you evolve quickly into the infinite tumble? Yes, you can. How do most people evolve to the infinite tumble? It's a slow, drawn out process. Why is that? So some people, you could argue they're crazy, they have a death wish. Some people are like, I don't care, I'm going to learn this, very stubborn. But I believe that there's a mixture of intense focus that goes in to people who become good at acro. And the people that don't become good at acro get hurt, die, or scare themselves out of the sport. That's how that goes down. So really important that if you're going to evolve into infinite tumble or twisted infinite tumble or twisted whatever, it's a slow progression. Work on your each individual step. And if I could just encourage you, go and follow after someone who is already good. Go with Max. Go sign up with the guys out in Utah. Get signed up. However you can do it, but spend that time with those people that are excellent at acro, because I mean that's the easy answer, right? Link yourself to somebody who's really good. Okay, we talked about altitude. Altitude's critical when you're messing around. Don't do acro low. Every time I hear stories of bad situations, I mean, it's way too often that I'm hearing, yeah, he was doing acro too low. And it's like, man, why should I ever hear that? I should never hear someone say that, because we should be perpetuating, hey, don't do acro low. And yet people still want to do that. Now, I'll tell you, I'll play the devil's advocate here. I, on my end, like to see the ground and like to see, I like to be close to the ground. The closer I am to the ground, the better I feel, right? That's a common thing. I think that's human nature, wants to be close to the ground. When you're on an SIV, you got pulled up to 3,500 feet or 4,000 feet above the lake, and you're looking down, it's like, oh gosh, so high up right now. Well, we have to reprogram our minds that is good to be up high like that. That the higher you are, the better you should feel about your situation, because you have much more time to sort those things out. I remember when it was Stephen Nowak told me, he goes, don't worry about it, man. You have a problem, you get twisted up, and you gotta sort it out. He goes, you got the rest of your life to figure it out. Yeah. You got the rest of your life. Oh man. Something I wanted to mention, I know we're almost out of time. Wind direction is critical when you're playing. Know where the wind direction is coming, especially if you're doing wing overs, because you're going to get to the place where you're coming in and out of the wind direction. So it's easy to get disoriented when you're, for example, when you're in a spiral on Monday, I was spiraling down because I had to go pee so bad. And I'm like, whew. And after like 3 or 4 spirals, I'm like, okay, I need to open this up. And when I opened it up, I was like, doing the thing where my eyes were like doing the thing. And I'm like, well, okay, I got to get away from the hill and turn around and get my bearings again. And there was a moment there where I was kind of like, okay, wait a second, how high am I right now? Because my eyes were doing the weird thing. Really important to know what wind direction is your main wind direction, and do your maneuvers into the wind, not downwind, because it can get chaos. It can get chaotic quick. The last thing that I wanted to mention was discipline your mind. I kind of jumped all over my talking points, but discipline your mind for these maneuvers. Don't just wing it. That's what I wrote here, and I put a little smiley face because I thought that was funny. Don't just wing it. That's where that came from. You see, when you are gonna focus I loved how Max Martini talked about how he would close his eyes on the ground and picture his glider above his head. And, you know, he's in the air, he's gliding, but he's like, I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to focus on the maneuver and meditate on how I'm going to do this. He's focusing everything in his brain to do the maneuver and then practice it over and over and over and over again and become
Now he is at the altitude where
perfect.
He's at the altitude where he can close his eyes and know that he's not going to hit anything, and he's not going to be, you know, let's just make sure that we're very clear on this, Robert.
Well, Max may not be the best example for high altitude training, because that guy will do infinite tumble like 500 feet off the ground. Oh, have you guys seen that video of the guy doing the infinite all the way, almost to the ground, and then he fixes it right in front of launch, and there's like a European guy that's like, he's a pilot and he's filming, he's like, why will you do that? So it's like, why? He was so mad. The guy filming was so mad. You'll see it. It's going to come across your feed eventually. You know, all these paragliding videos. Yeah.
Because he can.
Yeah, I guess so. It looked like it was an accident, like he didn't mean to get that far down.
I'm sure he practiced it. If he's doing infinite tumbles, probably pretty skilled. He's been doing it a while.
Oh yeah.
I think Minyard's been putting out a couple of videos in Turkey. They've been doing them pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, he's just insane, taking it to that next level. I'm trying to read some of the comments here. Altitude. Oh, yeah, altitude is life. Airspeed is life. Yeah, that is so true. Isn't airspeed is life? Altitude is life insurance. I like that. Paws and parachutes, welcome. Sky claustrophobia is the best way I can explain it. Feeling too high, not completely comfortable, just enough to be aware of it. Yeah. Yeah. Welcome. Lots of people in the chat tonight. Appreciate you guys hanging out each week and coming to be with us. I understand we don't always have the best thing going on here, but stay tuned. I'm hopeful that I'm gonna sort out this internet issue, and I got some people on deck that I want to have on the show that are prospects. I had 2 people shoot me down for tonight's show. So after I get rejected twice, I just move along. Couple good ones. And but I've got some stuff. I'm still working with some guys in Europe. We've got possibly a couple of ex-Alps athletes that are going to come on the show. This is the year for the ex-Alps again. You know, it skips a year. So that's exciting. We're going to watch that, and we'll be talking about that. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming to hang out and watching the show and supporting the show. So you guys are awesome. We're going to go to the after show. If you want to join, there's a link in the description. If you want to come hang out, maybe you got some more questions. I'm not the acro guy. Maybe we'll have some acro people come on and talk about acro, but yep. Stay safe, choose wisely, think about what you're doing. Don't be that guy. All right. Well, great to see you. Have a great night. If I don't see you on there, I'll see you in there. Thank you in moderation, Anthony. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate everybody with the wrench next to your name in the chat. You guys are awesome. We'll see you on the next one. Subscribe. Yeah.